I'd like to call to order the Board of Education meeting tonight, this evening, March 22nd of 2022. The North Hunterdon-Voorhees Regional High School District Board of Ed meeting is now called to order. In accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meeting Act, NJSA 10-4-6, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by submission of notice of the time, date, location, or instructions for remote access to the Hunterdon County Democrat on December 9th, 2021, and the Star Ledger on December 7th, 2021, and subsequently re-advertised on March 2nd, 2022 in the Star Ledger. Notice, and to the extent known, the agenda of this meeting have been posted at the North Hunterdon High School and Voorhees High School and provided to the municipal clerks of the Bethlehem Township, Califon Borough, Town of Clinton, Clinton Township, Franklin Township, Glen Gardner Borough, Hampton Borough, Highbridge Borough, Lebanon Township, Tewksbury Township, and Union Township, as well as other interested parties, and posted on the district websites. Fire exits are located in the direction indicated. If alerted to fire, please move in a calm and orderly fashion to the nearest smoke-free exit. At this time, I would ask you to all please silence your cell phones. As of March 7th, 2022, the mask mandate while inside district and school buildings has been lifted, so masks are now optional at Board of Education meetings. Katie, can you please do a roll call vote?
Ms. Bonomi?
Present.
Mr. Chapman?
Here.
Ms. Crisologo? Present. Mr. Farbanich?
Here.
Ms. Hintz? Present. Ms. Hoffman? Here. Mr. Hirschberger?
Here.
Mr. Mulek? Ms. Salino? Mr. Spanton?
Here.
Mr. Straight?
Here.
Ms. Fiato?
Here.
Thank you.
All rise for the flag salute.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I call for a motion and a second to approve agenda item 4.1, which are the minutes of the February 22nd, 2022 regular school board meeting?
So moved.
Does anyone have any questions? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Next thing on the agenda is a report out from our student representatives. Unfortunately, Bethany is not here and her alternate is not available to represent Voorhees, but we do have Vanessa Moline here to represent North Hunterdon. So the floor is yours.
Okay, so first off we have, starting this month, is April 10th, we have the Running of the Lions, which is sponsored by North Hunterdon Education Foundation, so we just wanted to get more word of that. We also have other fundraising events coming up, such as Relay to Life and Spike for a Cure. A big thing for the students this month has been returning to normalcy, so the mask mandate has been lifted, so we've been able to do a lot more stuff. Classroom environments just went up, everyone's a lot happier, springtime is coming. With that being said, a lot of success has been with some of the events that we've been able to have. So we had junior prom, it went very well. That was this past weekend. We have the sophomore semi coming up, and then after that we'll have prom. Another good thing that we had is today the boys volleyball team had their first scrimmage. They won all 3 sets, so we're very proud of them for that. With the arts, The Little Mermaid actually sold out 2 of their shows the previous weekend, which is a great thing. We haven't had that in 6 years, so it was fabulous for me being on the stage and seeing all the people come out. The tutoring program that we started up also has been doing really well. I talked to Ms. Fortuno about it. A lot of students are signing up for it and taking advantage of the opportunities that they have, especially around testing time. Along with that, we also have a game night coming up for STEM. We have over 50 signups for some of our incoming freshmen. That's all we have.
That's awesome, thank you. Anybody have any questions for Vanessa?
So as it relates to the tutor program, is the timing, the right timing for when it's being offered? Are we hitting the mark for what the students need in terms of participation in that program?
Yeah, it's working really well because a lot of the students that are using the program are students that are like athletes or have after-school activities. So having that extension that's beyond 3:15, so being able to do it like up to like 6 o'clock or 8 o'clock, whenever they choose, is really convenient for those that can't work into doing something immediately after school. So that really does help.
Spread the word though, if we need to do other times to make it more accommodating, please let us know so we can make alterations.
Of course, there's no know about that.
All right, next up is our Chief School Administrator's report.
Our district administered the New Jersey Graduation Proficiency Assessment to all juniors on March 14th and 17th, March 14th through 17th. Thank you to all the students and teachers for your cooperation and assistance during testing and with the alternate schedule to accommodate testing. We are continuing to coordinate with the Hunterdon County Vocational School District on the final site plans for the new Polytech building on North Hunterdon's campus. We will keep you updated on its progress. In the first season of boys volleyball, I'm happy to report that 51 students registered to play at North Hunterdon and 21 registered at Voorhees. We wish them well in their inaugural season. And the district will be closed for spring recess from April 15th through April 22nd, with the revision proposed to the 21-22 school calendar on tonight's board agenda. Spring recess will remain intact. The HIV report for this month is 2 incidents were investigated and they were unfounded. And then our reminder last month was 1 founded incident.
Do you need a motion?
Yes, I need a motion and a second to affirm the determinations of the HIB incidents reported on the February 22nd, 22 board meeting. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
And then the monthly reports are attached for your information.
Thanks. Just a reminder that our next public meeting will be on April 26th, 2022. It'll be our annual budget public hearing and our regular board meeting here at 7 o'clock in the district office. We're going to go to committee reports now, so let's start with policy, Rob.
Sure. The policy committee met on March 14th at 5:30 p.m. and in attendance were the entire committee and Mr. Bender and Dr. Burgax. And we reviewed the policies that are up for second readings. There was really no commentary on them, so they're all mandatory policies that we saw for the first time last month. And there are 8 policies that are up for first readings. Nothing really controversial. The only one that we spent any real time talking about was the new policy 2415.05 about student surveys, analysis, evaluations, examinations, which essentially is required because there's new federal law in support of that needs to be met regarding and evaluations and examinations. So we already had policy in place that supports the state law, and so this is another sort of example where there's federal law and state law that needs to be accounted for in policy. All these policies are mandatory, so there's not really a lot to talk about here other than the fact that they're up for first reading. We also spent some time talking about the policy, again talking about policy 9130, the reconsideration policy. One of the items that came up last month was about repeat challenges to materials, and there was some question about whether or not our policy should be, for the avoidance of doubt, should be clear about how the intention to limit the ability to re-challenge materials that have already been challenged and decided upon. So next month, there'll be a first reading for a modification to that policy, but the intention is, for the avoidance of doubt, to make it clear in our policy that, once a material has been challenged and sort of adjudicated upon, that there's a sort of statute of limitations for that. And also, as it relates to that, the librarians and the administration are working on revisions to the reconsideration form so that it more clearly aligns with the elements of the policy related to the elements that should be considered when determining when assessing a challenged material. So that will be a modification to the regulation. So we won't see that as a policy, but just wanted to let you all know that that was being worked on by the administration and the librarians. And that is essentially the extent of our meeting.
Thanks.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you.
John, do you want me to give you a minute while you're doing your computer? Can we get a curriculum?
Or 5.
Or 5, 10.
Getting there.
Can we get a curriculum?
Thank you.
Certainly. Curriculum Committee met on March 15th. Everyone was in attendance with the exception of Ms. Salino. We discussed 4 topics. The first being very exciting, we discussed the Seal of Biliteracy, which is a program run with the state, which recognizes seniors who are proficient in 2 or more languages. This year, 35 students in the district will receive the Seal of Biliteracy, which is an outstanding number, especially considering the fact that we're coming off of COVID and reduced learning. 1 student in the district is actually literate in 3 languages, which is truly, truly remarkable. So we discussed that as a group, but also just want to acknowledge that we are not only very proud of these students, but also of the staff and the teachers who were part of making that happen. Part of that discussion, we also confirmed that starting next month in April, we will be bringing back the recognizing the students at board meetings from each school principal. So that will begin next month. The second agenda item, we discussed the board items on tonight's agenda. The 3 of them, home instruction, out of district, and the revised calendar that Mr. Bender had discussed. Just quickly on the calendar, the state only requires 180 days. We already have more than that built in, and the staff will be working the same amount of days. So the change in the calendar that's up for vote tonight, we are still ahead of guidelines. The third item discussed was chronic. Each month, as you know, the committee reviews different stats on the district. This month, we talked about chronic absenteeism. So we reviewed the percentage of students who have been chronically absent the past few years. We talked about what the state definitions and guidelines were, and we looked at our numbers in various different analytical levels. Students, we also were made clear that students lose credit in full year courses if they have over 12 unexcused absences. And we talked about what programs we have in place in the district, like the counseling department, reaching out to not only parents but the students. So what programs are in place to make sure that we support these students and bring them back into the school. The last item we discussed was for the good of the order. So the legislation that's being considered that would allow school districts to have remote instruction on snow days. We did make sure that we highlighted that this district might be a little different because we do have some pockets within the 12 sending districts that lose power on snowstorm days, so we will have to take this as on a case-by-case basis. And then we discussed how students and parents have access on Aspen to access the curriculum map for courses. And just to highlight that this is something that most districts do not do, and that Mr. Bender implemented this program when he first entered this district from a full transparency standpoint. So we also asked for an update, and to date, this year, students and parents have accessed these curriculum maps in Aspen nearly 15,000 times this school year alone. So we want to thank Mr. Bender for implementing that full transparency with our curriculum. And that was all we discussed. Does anyone have questions? Okay.
You good? All right, let's go for it.
Okay, thank you, Madam President. Our Facilities Finance Committee met last Monday evening. Everybody was in attendance. So the big item is the budget, which is going to be introduced tonight. Before I get on to that, though, I just did want to update you on two projects that did not make the list of projects for our proposed referendum that we're working on for next year. They're going to be included for work this summer, so you see them on your agenda. That's the security, vestibule, and theater entrance improvement. So that money's coming out of capital reserve. That work will be taking place this summer. So on the budget, we've been trying to update as each month, especially the last few months that we've gotten closer and have known what the realities are. And as we projected, the governor's budget address came out last 2 weeks ago, and we are still losing the money that we expected to lose. It's a phase-in process over 5 or 6 years, and we're losing around $450,000. So that cut is still there. In addition to that, our other drivers for the budget, obviously the salaries, projected 3% increase, health insurance 5.5%, transportation up 5%, some out-of-district tuition is up, insurance coverage is up 10%. That combined with the decrease in state aid has left us in a similar predicament as last year, where it was necessary to raise taxes. So the impact to the taxpayers we're proposing tonight is 1.6%, but we're also using some stored up bank cap, which we used last year as well at I think 1.2%. So the total increase to the budget is 2.8, but the 1.2 being the savings, which is coming back from the previous referendum, the money that was not spent. And we have another year. Next year we'll have that money is still coming back in one more year, so we'll have that to help offset increases next year as well. So those are some of the highlights on the budget. There's really not a lot of wiggle room. I mean, I asked the question in committee, what type of expenses are we agonizing over, or what are the wants out there that we've said no to? But basically, it's all just status quo. Those items that I mentioned that are up, state aid is down, necessitating a 2.8% increase with a net of 1.6 to the taxpayer this year. The last thing that we talked about then, the agenda items, the solar work at Voorhees is ongoing. There's some photos in the folder for people who want to see what's been taking place on the roof over at Voorhees. That should be winding down in the next few months. The tennis courts at Voorhees are going to be resurfaced. We tried to get that done last fall, but the weather cooled off too much for that resurfacing technology to be used. So as soon as the temperature warms up, the next few weeks, that work will take place. And work is ongoing as we received a presentation last month on the new building on our campus here. So they're looking to break ground maybe by this summer. That might be a little bit too aggressive of a time schedule. I think they can let it slide a few months and still meet their overall goals. But we don't have a lot to say about that other than we are the host for it. But it's the county's building. So I know I covered a lot of ground. I don't have anything else, but certainly I'd like to answer any questions. Or if I can't, Katie's been terrific in preparing documents for our committee.
Well, just to clarify, we've had a reduction in state aid, plus we've had the 450 reduction, which is this phase-out period from the state, which is going to continue every single year. So the 450 is just this year, but I don't know, I can't remember what the total was, but we're going to have another phase-out next year of a similar amount. So it's, I mean, between the two, with the state aid reduction, it's what, 900, $1 million? We're down from
For
reductions?
this year, it's the 450,000 approximately, and then in aggregate, it's a 6-year phase-in, so it's over $2 million that we're losing over 6 years.
John, the tennis courts, because I believe boys use them for the
Right,
spring, so
yes.
when that treatment happens, is it going to be after the season, I would imagine?
That's what we were originally planning on. We were hoping to do it before the season started, but being that the temperatures have
Too
been
cold.
too low for, I think they need 5 or 6 days to do the whole process. We're looking at potentially at the end of the spring season before summer camp start.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for John? Personnel?
Personnel Committee met on Tuesday, March 15th at 6:30 p.m. virtually. We discussed the personnel portion of the agenda. All committee members were in attendance, as well as Mr. Bender and Mr. Burgess. We received a proposal on a briefing paper for a Tri-M Honors Music Society. There is currently no Music Honor Society here at North Hunterdon. The goal is to establish the chapter Tri-M International Music Honor Society. The student members will include sophomores, and through seniors and freshmen can begin the process in April of their upcoming sophomore year. GPA eligibility for induction into the Honor Society will have to be an A average in their music courses and a B average overall. There will be additional requirements for the induction that will consist of music, service and music participation. The group typically will meet twice a month, and meetings will take place in the band room or choir room. We're hoping that new members will be inducted this school year. Okay, so that's our goal. Once it's board approved, they'll have to file their application with the Tri-M Honor Society. And I think the first year will be at a volunteer basis for the staff member, and then next year will be a stipend position. And that's all I have.
Questions for Shelley? Terry, you want to wrap us up with community relations?
Sure. Community Relations met on March 16th virtually. Everyone was in attendance except for Kim Salino and Jessica Filiotto. We discussed the current COVID-19 activity. Mr. Bender mentioned about that week the masks were optional, and the positive response by staff and students. The protocols are still in place. They're all listed on the website if anyone has any interest in what the current protocols, and we're following the New Jersey Department of Health regarding those updated protocols. I did add that at the meetings effective today, HRSA, which is the insurance bank for non-insured people, are no longer able to cover testing or vaccinations for people without insurance in our country. So that's kind of a area that is difficult, but we want to let everyone know that that's what's going on there. We discussed end-of-year activities, and it's exciting because things are returning to normal. The North Hunterdon Prism concert is going to be in 2 days, and they've had a 2-year hiatus. The Voorhees musical is April 7th through the 10th. The North Hunterdon prom, as Vanessa noted, was this past weekend at the farmhouse, and everyone had a wonderful time. The North Hunterdon senior prom is going to be on May 20th at Forest Lodge. The Voorhees junior senior prom is going to be May 26th at Steel Stacks out in Bethlehem, PA. Move-up dances are going to be for 8th graders incoming into the district. North Hunterdon is going to be on May 6th and Voorhees on May 20th. There's 2 spring concerts that are going to be at both high schools, so check the website to make sure the dates on those. Graduation is set for June 15th at 10 a.m. at both schools, And the project graduation will be held at North Hunterdon by the PTSA and by Voorhees PTSO. Mr. Chapman brought up in our meeting about fundraising, and so I just wanted to also note, because of the COVID pandemic, a lot of these classes, they were affected going into their junior year, senior year, so they're behind on fundraising. So there's a lot of activities going on, and if the community and our staff and students can participate, it'll help offset a lot of the costs that these students didn't get to accumulate as prior students have, and then the future ones will have the opportunity to fundraise. So if we can all step up and help the students that were impacted, which would be the junior and senior classes coming up, that would be wonderful. And that's all we had.
Thanks. Anybody have any questions for Tara? All right. Now is the opportunity for public comment. During this portion of the meeting, the public is invited to address the school board with questions or comments. The public is requested to sign the register provided for this purpose and to state their name, municipality of residence, group affiliation if applicable, and to direct their comments to the school board president. While all comments will be considered and a response will be forthcoming if and when appropriate, school board members will not respond to the speakers at the time of their appearance. The public comment period is for a maximum of 30 minutes in length unless there are unusual circumstances. Those appearing will be allotted 3 minutes to speak, and no one will be permitted to speak twice until those that have not yet had an opportunity to speak have had a turn.
Do they know they can come up?
Is there, and seeing no one's coming up for public comment?
Hello, my name is Mark Bosnick from Lebanon Borough. I just want to say it's been 28 days that the last board meeting was virtual. The one before that was virtual. Just want to say that it's stunning that everything is back to normal. How many times have you guys told us to pull our masks up and stop the meeting because people weren't wearing masks properly, and then magically in 28 days, everything is normal. So just wanted to say bravo. Good job.
Okay. Seeing that there's no other items for public comment, I'd like to call for a motion and a second to approve action items 10.1 through 10.3. This requires a roll call vote.
Motion.
Second.
Roger. Ms. Bonomi?
Yes.
Mr. Chapman?
Yes.
Ms. Crisalogo?
Yes.
Mr. Carabinish?
Yes.
Ms. Hinz?
Yes.
Ms. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Kirschberger?
Yes.
Mr. Mealy?
Yes.
Ms. Salino is absent. Mr. Spanton?
Yes.
Mr. Straight?
Yes.
And Ms. Beato?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Motion carries.
I'd like to call for a motion and I'm sorry. Yes.
Yes.
Call for a motion and a second to approve agenda items 12.1 to 14.14. And this would be a voice vote.
So moved.
Second.
Deb and Tara? Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Now it's time for any old or new business. Is there any old or new business anyone would like to address?
I'll just comment that I want to reinforce this idea that the spring or fall, winter, whatever it is, the musical at North was just really fantastic. That was great audience, great show, performances were all wonderful. It was really, really an impressive thing. So just my congratulations to the staff and the students who put that on. It was really fun to watch. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Brian.
And then we'd have to add the Voorhees Pops concert, which was outstanding. First time I ever saw that, so as a district, I agree, Brian, really outstanding. The talent that's here and from a teacher and the student standpoint is incredible.
Can I have, call for a motion and a second to adopt the attached resolution 0322222-2 for executive session to discuss matters falling under category 8 as reflected in the attached resolution. The board expects to be in executive session for approximately an hour and then we'll reconvene to public session where action will be taken.
So moved.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? We're in executive session.
I'll be right there.
Motion and a second to reconvene to public session, please.
So moved.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Is there any new business we'd like to discuss at this point?
Yeah, I got one.
Okay.
So on the personnel agenda, we were talking about the funding for the summer learning and enrichment teachers. And I know that that's our ESSER funding, and that's how we're spending it, which is great. I'm interested in how our sending districts are spending their ESSER money, and if they're doing something similar from a tutoring or other enrichment offerings, because we've talked about how the learning loss that we're trying to deal with is not just our problem, but it goes across the entire spectrum of our students and our upcoming students, and so I'd be interested in understanding how our sending districts are going to be helping all of us address this problem.
I'll get that info for you.
Thanks.
Yeah. And I think we should discuss at the sending districts joint meeting that we have every other month.
Great, thank you.
So in addition to that, I think we ought to start a campaign with a lot of our seniors and people that have left. So I know we're, maybe like an alumni newsletter, but as Rich has brought up that, not just Rich, but I've been hearing this from a lot of folks, finding teachers is going to get harder and harder in the future. And I think we ought to start some kind of grassroots campaign and getting the word out to some of the kids that have been graduates to other schools that would be great places to kind of go start hunting for teachers that we want to have come back in the district, people that know our district, who can put in a good word about our district. But I think we need to start that grassroots campaign now so that come summertime, we're not scrambling to find good teachers for Freelands. But I'm hearing from everybody that teachers are really, really tough to come by these days, especially for the STEM.
Okay.
Idea. We can. And no other new business? Good. Can I have a motion and a second to approve agenda items 19.1 and 19.2, including any hand carries if provided?
So moved.
Second.
It's a roll call vote, Katie?
Ms. Bonomi?
Yes.
Mr. Chapman?
Yes.
Ms. Chrysalova?
Yes.
Mr. Parvenish?
Yes.
Ms. Hints?
Yes.
Ms. Hoffman? Mr. Kurtberger?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Stanton?
Yes.
Mr. Straight?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. I have a motion and a second to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?